Mr. Harris Rosen, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, sir.
Firstly, Mr. Rosen, thank you so much for talking to OrlandoHalls.com today and taking the time out of your busy schedule. The problem when interviewing people like yourself is really knowing where to start. So I suppose we'll start back in 1974 when you purchased your first hotel, which is now the Rosen Inn International. Legend has it that to ensure business in those early days of what was the Quality Inn International at the time, that you would hitchhike across the northeast of the United States, knocking on the doors of bus tour operators, securing their business by offering incredibly low room rates. So I've got kind of three questions for you there. Surely, firstly, that isn't true, surely. But secondly, I'd like to know where the desire came from for you to make this first initial hotel purchase. And also, why, as a native New Yorker, did Orlando appeal to you?
Well, Danny, first let me correct you. It is absolutely true. In 1974, I think it was June 25th, I walked into my new office and I cried. I thought I had just done the dumbest thing a human being could do. Occupancies in Orlando, because of the embargo on oil, were in the mid-20s, low 30s. People couldn't buy gas, and so they weren't coming. I had, for some reason, a belief that I could overcome that. My sense was that the motor coach business was still capable of buying gas because they were favored customers of gas stations, and that if I could appeal to them, I might survive. So I did indeed get out on the highway, carrying a little bag, stick my thumb out, and hoped that I would catch a ride ultimately to New York, then New Jersey, then Massachusetts. I was so blessed. My first ride took me from Orlando to Jacksonville. And yes, the second ride took me to New York City. I knew exactly who I wanted to contact. And I contacted them and told them that I had just hitchhiked from Orlando and wondered if they would spend some time with me because I had something very interesting to share with them. I had just acquired a little motel and thought that I might be able to do something that they might have an interest in. They said, fine. I got to their offices. There were three large motor coach companies I wanted to visit. I started, I think, with Kasser Tours. I didn't meet Mr. Kasser, but I met his chief operating officer. And I shared my story with him. He was flabbergasted. He said, "You did what?" I said, "I hitchhiked." "Are you crazy?" "No, I want your business so badly." He said, "What can we do to help?" I had made little business cards before I made my trip, and I handed him a card which said President of the Quality Inn International. And I said, here's my offer. You write down on the card a room rate that you would like me to offer for the next 2 years, and I will honor it. He said, what kind of a rate? I said, whatever rate you want. He said, whatever rate I want? Just write it down. I'll initial it. When I get back to Orlando, I will send you a formal agreement. He was surprised, but he wrote down a rate. My recollection is that the rates I received from 3 in New York City, 1 in New Jersey, and 2 in Massachusetts ranged from $7.25 a night to a very generous offer of $8. I promised to honor that rate for each of them for 2 years. My last stop was Massachusetts with a company called Paragon Tours. I met with a Pendler family who owned the company. And let me share this. You might say, well, where would I stay? What hotel? No, it was so amazing because the owners of the companies had such pity and sympathy for me that they would either invite me to stay at their homes or at a friend's house. I didn't have to pay. And they would drive me there. And when I went from New York City to New Jersey, they drove me in a bus, one of their buses.
Wow.
When I needed to go from New Jersey to Massachusetts, the same thing. These people were so kind and amazing. They had such pity for me. So the Pendlers were the last stop, and they signed their little card. And then they said, Harris, what are you doing now? I said, I've got to get back to Central Florida, to Orlando. And they said, well, how? I said, well, I'm going to hitchhike back. No. We will find someone who's driving to Florida who will drop you off in Orlando. I said, you don't have to do that. We want to do that, Harris. And so they found a couple who were heading to Miami. They said they would drop me off in Orlando. So appreciative I was of the couple that drove me to Orlando, that they were my guest at my little Quality Inn for the next 10 years until one of them passed away. And they stayed for 2 or 3 weeks or a month, whatever they wanted to, as my guest. And so you see, the story is true. This crazy person did exactly what you thought was impossible. I did it. And that was the beginning. And so what happened? I got back to my office. I sent each one a formal agreement, and the buses started to roll in. It was amazing, but they started to roll in. And we gave them good service. We absolutely did. About a year after that occurred, a group of individuals came to visit me from Philadelphia, a very large bank in Philadelphia. They said, Harris, can we talk to you? I said, of course. How is it that you're so successful? And I said, that's a secret. They said, okay. But we ask people how that little Quality Inn is doing. They say he's filling up every night. And we have a hotel here in Orlando that we acquired because the current owner wasn't able to pay the mortgage. Would you have an interest in buying it? I don't know, my hands are full. Please make us any kind of an offer. I made them a silly offer. I said I would manage the property for no fee. But the fee that I would normally expect to receive would be matched by the bank, and that would then be a payment to reduce the mortgage. When I was able to reduce the mortgage significantly, I would have the option of purchasing the property. If at the end of 5 years I didn't have a mortgage, I would own the hotel. At the end of 5 years, I owned the hotel. In 5 years, I went from someone who was crying because he had done something so incredibly stupid to someone who owned 2 hotels, one with no debt whatsoever, and the other one that I was paying the debt off. So you see, Danny, the story was true. Yes, this crazy person did that.